Jasmine Singer,
Hi.
Mariann Sullivan.
Hello.
Tell me what it is.
Oh, absolutely. Our hen house is a multimedia hive of opportunities to change the world for animals. That's what we're trying to do. We have a daily blog. Every day we publish a different opportunity for people who want to get further involved with animal advocacy in their own way, in their own lives. And we have a weekly podcast. We have been going for almost 2 years every week with that. We've spoken with such amazing movers and shakers from the animal rights movement. Everyone from Peter Singer, who of course wrote Animal Liberation, which really launched the animal rights movement as we know it today, to college students who are starting animal rights groups at their colleges. And we have a video production unit because, like you, we really think that multimedia is such an important tool for change making and for really creating a difference in the world of animal rights and other social justice issues too.
Mariann, I know that you're a lawyer. Just a tiny bit of what you've done in some of the committees you served on, because I want everyone to know that just a tiny bit of your credentials, because anything you say is going to be phenomenal.
Well, it's not so much my credentials, it's really the remarkable story is the growth of animal law. When I got started, which was back in the 90s, there was really nothing much going on, and I joined a bar association committee and found a few other people who were interested, and nowadays there are courses in almost every law school, over 100 law schools, and I am lucky enough to
teach at 97 of them.
I teach at 3 of them here in New York City, Brooklyn, Cardozo, and Columbia Law Schools, and yeah, the Bar Association committees have exploded. When I first joined the New York City Bar Association Animal Law Committee, it was the first bar association in the country to have one. Now they all have them, and the American Bar Association has an animal law committee, which I was just lucky enough to be the chair of last year.
Wow.
And the whole world has just exploded with people paying attention to what's happening to animals, to how the laws are not protecting them the way people think they should be protected, and even the way people think maybe they are being protected, that it's not true, and the law doesn't represent what people believe should be done, and that this is having serious consequences for the animals and for society at large, because as you know, the way animals are treated is impacting not only the animals, but our society and our health because of the ravages of factory farming and of course of the environment as well. So it's become a huge issue over a very short amount of time, and I've just been lucky enough to be part of it.
And do you find that many people care about the treatment of animals, but they still eat them?
When surveys have been taken, 97% of people say that there should be laws protecting animals from cruelty, and we shouldn't be cruel to animals. You can't get 97% of people to agree on anything. You can't get 97% of people to agree that the sky is blue. People just don't agree on that. They agree that animals should not be treated cruelly. And yet, as you pointed out, animals are treated very cruelly because of what happens to them in the process of being turned into our food. I think there's just an enormous disconnect there, and people are starting to connect that disconnect, and it's starting. People are starting to plug those two pieces in, and the world is starting to change.
When someone says, I really agree with all of this, I would really like to eat in this way, but I really don't, I still like bacon, or I couldn't give up my yogurt, or there's some comment always like that, there's some reservation. And do you have a response that you seem to be?
Well, that's a really good question. I don't think that we have a canned response specifically because everybody is so different, and the first thing I'll do is try and gauge what that person is particularly interested in. Are they coming at it from an animal rights perspective, from a health perspective, or from an environmental perspective? And within those categories, there's so many other things that can reach them. There's books, there's films, there's other media, there's so many aspects, there's the arts, which is a huge part of what we do at our hen house. So I think that is a really good question, and someone can be reached with anything. There is a delicious, cruelty-free alternative to every kind of animal product out there. And if people just knew the truth about how delicious vegan food is, we could put an end to animal agribusiness in a New York minute. So that's what we're hoping for, and really people are reached by food. I mean, I'm sure you as a cookbook author and as a chef know that too in so many ways, that people can learn about the deliciousness of compassion through how delicious food can taste. So there's that. Of course, there's more studies coming out every single day about the fact that going vegan and eating a healthy, whole foods, plant-based diet is the absolute best thing that we can do for our health. It can prevent and reverse the diseases that are plaguing this country and that are killing Americans. So many of us have people we love who are sick with diseases that can be reversed. And this is being hidden. People aren't talking about it. So if we start talking about that aspect of it, or perhaps the person I'm speaking to is an activist and they're interested in creating a better world. Well, the absolute most important reason to adopt a vegan diet is because you're saving so many lives and you're actually living in an ethical continuum with your beliefs. Like Mariann just said, 97% of people agree that we should be treating animals better. Well, when you start to really talk about the cruelty that's going on behind closed doors in factory farms, people aren't going to want to participate in it anymore. These conversations need to be happening, and we need to be the ones to have them. And people can see that we've been vegan for a really long time, and we live happily and healthfully, and we love food. Who doesn't love food more than vegans? There's also the environmental reasons too, which are incredibly compelling.
What I
Can
enjoy...
Can I just add
Absolutely.
one thing to that? Because I think that sometimes people really do have a hang-up about a particular food. Sometimes it's ice cream. Sometimes it's cream in my coffee. You just can't imagine it. And I think if people are authentically saying that, and it's not just that they're giving you an excuse, I think that one thing that you should say is, well, then do everything else. If you really can't take that one step, leave that step if it's getting in your way. But don't take that one thing that's standing in your way and let it stop you from doing everything else. Wait and leave that till the last step, take care of everything else, and then tackle that and, see what happens.
Chances are by then they'll already know how...
Yeah, and you'll find out that vegan ice cream is terrific, and vegan soy creamers are great, and don't push yourself further than you can. Leave the really hard things if you can't confront them, and confront all of the things that you can. Change your diet in really positive ways. You can think of this as a positive. Not of things you have to give up, but of things you can embrace.
So that's why she got the Linda Long Award.
My proudest moment.
On your website, and I really want to go back to that just for a second because it's so impressive.
Thank you.
And I think it's such a welcoming site, and you write it so personally. And I love the way you choose certain words that I would find myself, I would have said that differently. And it wouldn't sound nearly the way you just said it.
That's Jasmin.
That's Jasmin.
She's the creative...
she's the wordsmith.
Wordsmith, yeah.
But it really is. And I noticed today that there's a talent competition coming, and you have other competitions, which I know gives you love-hate relationship, you said, with competitions. But there's even a vegan photo stock.
Yes, they are so cool. There are two people, Chris and Crystal Tate, who started a vegan photo stock website, and they allow for anyone to use these images for their websites and their blogs, and it's just a resource that vegan bloggers and the media really needed. So what we do really is a testament to what's going on in the animal rights movement. These competitions that you're talking about, it's not like we created them. We're just shedding a little bit of light on them. Every day we want to post a different opportunity for people to see that there are so many ways to get involved, be it through legal means, or through writing, or through the arts, or through grassroots, or through media, or through office place activism. People are hung up on the word activism, and I don't really care what they call it, but there is a way for every single person to incorporate changing the world for animals into their everyday lives without more than a tiny little tweak. So I appreciate that you said that about our website. I love writing, and I think that people like to connect with us on a personal level, which is something I think that our hen house offers. It's our hen house because it's for all of us.
Mm-hmm. I'm constantly asked, what do you eat for breakfast? You know, they even go, like, if you're not having bacon and eggs or, you know, bagel with cream cheese on it or whatever, somehow their minds seem to go that there's nothing to eat, when they don't realize how much they're eating of vegan ingredients anyway.
Right, that's a good point, and that's actually a very good point you just made about the fact that people don't necessarily want to hear about all of the animal rights and environmental and health aspects. Sometimes they just want to know what to have for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a good
And
point.
I mean, I think you're right that people are already eating a lot of vegan ingredients. Bagels are one that you just mentioned, which people don't necessarily realize are vegan. But also, I think that frequently people get very stuck in a very narrow range of foods. They eat the same thing for breakfast every day. And one of the great pleasures of changing your diet in any way is that it opens you up. I eat a much wider variety of foods now that I'm vegan than I used to when I was stuck in this standard American diet mindset of just eating, like, as you said, bacon and eggs, or you have these standard foods that you think are for breakfast, and you don't reach beyond that because you're so stuck in your ways. There are loads of vegan things that everybody eats for breakfast all the time, whether they're bagels or oatmeal or cereal. You just tweak the milk and it's still vegan. But you can think way beyond that too and move into your fruit and veggie smoothies and even
Tofu
getting
scrambled.
some savory dishes.
But you
for
can
breakfast.
actually continue with these habits that you're speaking of. You can have your bagel and cream cheese or your bacon and eggs, but you just have the vegan version, which tastes better, really, and is a lot healthier and is so easy. It's just a matter of expanding your horizons a little bit.
And you can also just open your doors to a lot of different foods. Because I think every vegan has found that going vegan has expanded their eating rather than narrowing it.
Oh, totally.
Oh, what is your real go-to dish to have?
Well, at the moment we're on a health kick, so
Ooh.
my answer is going to be a little healthier than when we're really craving, you know, like fake meat, which I'm not going to call fake meat anymore because Colleen Patrick-Goudreau says that we eat real food.
We don't eat fake food.
We eat vegan
Right.
meat. We eat soy-based meat or whatever. But anyway, right now we happen to be on a health kick, and what I have found is easy, and I've been inspired from all of the amazing food carts in Portland, where I visit quite frequently, is bowls.
The bowl. We're addicted to bowls.
So basically you take a bowl and you start with a whole grain. So we really like quinoa, but you can make it brown rice, you can make it millet, you could make it a variety of other ones. But let's just say
and we have
quinoa.
a rice cooker, which makes whole grains.
It takes
just
the
a
guesswork
total
out.
cinch.
So easy. So we start with a grain, and then the next thing that happens is a green, and our favorite green, kale.
Kale addicts.
I mean, kale is just the most magnificent food, and you could get it at any grocery store, you could get it at the farmer's market,
And it doesn't matter what kind you get.
not at
No.
all.
Because
So
there's several varieties,
Exactly.
you know. It's like,
All good.
So we'll just.
How
we'll
did we
just-
all grow up without kale?
No
Where was
idea.
it?
Where was the kale? So we'll just put some lightly steamed kale on that, and then we'll put the protein on, and of course there's a ton of protein in quinoa and in greens. So I'm just calling it that for the sake of discussion. But by the protein I mean beans, for example, or tempeh or tofu, and any of them. We could use lentils, we could use chickpeas, we could use tofu. We have an amazing tempeh share as part of our CSA that we belong to, so we have delicious tempeh. And any form, however you like it, goes on the top, and then you drizzle a little tahini on it. And my
Or a
favorite,
sauce
or a sauce,
that you've
and my
made.
favorite topping is nutritional yeast.
Oh my god.
Which we actually named on our podcast as the best tasting but worst named food
Right.
in the history of the planet.
Nutritional yeast.
Yes.
Who wants
Yum.
to eat nutritional
Let's have some
yeast?
of that.
It's the best. It's the best. It gives anything a cheesy sort of flavor. So easy. What I just said is so easy. And that's
and for people who don't know, would you describe it?
what nutritional yeast is. It's basically like you could get it in the bulk section of your health food store or your grocery store. Sometimes they sell it in the nutritional supplement section, which is weird. And it basically is like, it's like yeast flakes. And it tastes very cheesy, but It has your vitamin B in it. It has like a ton of other incredibly essential vitamins, omega-3s, lots of them, thank you. And
it's very low in calories, and it's just this wonderful cheesy, nutty kind of flavor that adds to almost anything.
And anybody who has yeast problems needs to understand that it's not brewer's yeast.
Oh God, no,
It's not. That's why you say it's so poorly named.
It is. So this is because we're on a health kick. I mean, we certainly have our moments where we want something greasy and decadent, and we could have anything from a delicious veggie burger and fries, which veggie burgers have really improved in the last 10 years, to something like soy battered chicken with
how about chicken and waffles?
We had chicken and waffles.
So,
We had it at this restaurant in Toronto that we were just visiting. That was truly,
of course,
amazing.
Chicken.
Yes, right.
So, but it's just
beautiful
crust, like anybody else.
Very
decadent. Our lives are an ebb and flow of really healthy and then not as healthy and then really healthy and then.
But the bowl has just been
it's delicious.
A great addition to our lives because it can vary a lot. It can be a little different every night. You use different grains, you use different ingredients, but it's easy. You can throw it together quickly. It's incredibly healthy and it's delicious and very satisfying. And if you're starving, you just bulk up the grain a little bit. If you're not that hungry and want a light dinner, it's more greens. It's so flexible. It's our basic go-to.
You could use any kind of sauce or dressing if there's.
You can use a prepackaged one if you're in a hurry, like vegan queso or something, or you can make a delicious dressing yourself based on miso.
Whatever you want.
It's so flexible, and yet you just know, you go into the kitchen, you know what you're going to do. It's not, you have to look up a recipe, you have to think about this, you have to plan ingredients. You kind of always have everything you need, and you can just throw it together.
Kind of the anatomy of the bowl.
Exactly. And you could use canned beans or you could use dried beans. We use dried beans, so every night before we go to bed, we soak the beans overnight, put them in the pressure cooker in the morning, and they're done within sometimes 20 minutes.
Now, do you soak them and leave them on the counter?
And then
I cook them in the pressure cooker in the morning. Jasmine's afraid of the pressure cooker.
Yeah, but that's why I have her.
Why is everyone afraid of? Don't be afraid of pressure cookers. They're such a gift. But if you don't like to use a pressure cooker,
you could just make
a slow cooker. Or you cook them.
If you use the slow cooker, that's really good for people who work outside of the home, which is most people. We happen to work at home, so that makes it easier. But the slow cooker, which we make soups in the winter all the time, is just like a amazing heaven-sent machine.
Throw everything in there in the morning, and you come home
and you have food.
And there you have the bowl again. You could have soup.
Exactly. And you could even use soup as dressing sometimes, just a little bit of it.
Throw out your plates. The bowl is where it's at.
I just want to also say that we'll make a grain every morning too, so it makes everything very easy and attainable. And it's very inexpensive because all the stuff I just said, except for the greens, of course, you could get in the bulk section.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned using soup as a dressing. Could you explain that a little further?
Well, I think that when any kind of soup, if you could make, we like our soups thick and hearty.
Really
none of
vegetable stews.
None of this watery nonsense. Like when you go to the restaurant and you get vegetable soup and there's like a carrot at the bottom of a bowl of hot water. No way. We like it to be thick and sometimes have grains in it and a lot of vegetables. We like frozen vegetables a lot. Our freezer is always stocked full of them in case we don't have any fresh at the moment. So if you just take a little bit of that, it's even just the liquid part, it's flavored with all the spices you used and all the vegetables you use, and you could just use that alone, just sprinkle it on your bowl, or you could add some tahini. We love tahini. It's really important that people eat fat in their diet, and tahini is a really high quality, delicious fat, so it's a nice little tip.
And the only exception we'll make to that is Dr. Esselstyn. If you have heart disease, then you really want to watch how much fat you have in your diet.
I mean, that being said, we have fat like maybe 1 to 2 times a day, like a fat like tahini or nuts. So
Yeah.
that's
We
a
don't.
really good
We try
point.
not to. We try to stay away from any processed fats. We don't do oils.
Right.
We try to.
We
if
don't
we're
do
going
oils.
to do fats, it will
Oh,
be
okay.
an avocado or tahini. You know, just
Or
something
nuts
that's a
or
natural.
seeds.
Still part of a
Yes.
whole food
Yes.
that has fat in it. And I just want to revisit my very favorite topic, which is frozen vegetables. I know
She
that
does.
sounds
She
ridiculous.
talks about it
but
like in
frozen,
bed.
I am not a cook. I'm not a great cook, but I like to eat healthy and I like to eat well. And frozen vegetables are for me the answer to being healthy. I mean, I love fresh vegetables. It's great to go down, and we can go right down to the corner and buy fresh vegetables. But to always have frozen vegetables in the freezer, they're always there. They're already cut up. They're already clean. They're just as good for you. They do not lose their nutritional properties when they're being frozen. Sometimes they're better for you because they're frozen so soon
Quickly.
after they're picked. And just keep them in the freezer. Have the fresh vegetables when you can get them, but to have them always there, you always know. Whatever you're cooking, you just throw an extra bag of greens in there, and you have doubled the nutritional value and the
Fabulous.
flavor and the substance of what you're making.
That's
Absolutely.
a really good point. And we also use them in smoothies in the morning too. Like we'll have a delicious smoothie with lots of fruit and maybe a little bit of flax seeds or chia seeds, and then we'll put a bunch of frozen spinach in it. Spinach is an interesting
You
vegetable.
hardly even know. You don't.
It turns it green.
sneaks
Don't taste
it
it.
right in there.
You don't
Yeah.
taste it, and you're starting your day off by eating a lot of greens, and it's a good foot to it's a good step to
I
start
did
your
that
day
this
on.
morning.
Oh, did you? So did we. In fact, this morning we put frozen broccoli in it as
Oh.
well, just because we were like living on the edge. we vegans
it.
like
I
to be
didn't believe.
daring.
I did not believe that was going to work, but you could not taste the broccoli.
Isn't
I
that
thought it would
great?
be awful. But it
Cruciferous
wasn't. It was good.
vegetables are so good for you.
That's great. It's true. What is your hope for the future?
We recently wrote an article talking about moving from despair to hope, and so many of us live with so much despair because we see, when you know what's going on with animals, you see the world in a very dark way, and you see that there's an enormous amount of hideous cruelty and people don't seem to pay attention. But I really feel like this enormous disconnect that we were talking about before between what people believe about animals, about the world, about their own health, about the environment, about the way all of it's interconnected, is so completely disconnected from their behavior that a huge shift in consciousness really has to occur. And I don't think it's going to be gradual. I think once the number of voices starting to bring this message from all of these different angles that all fit together start to get a little louder, people are just going to realize that their belief system is not a belief system, it's just a denial of what's going on. They're going to realize that something very wrong is going on and that it's so easy to change it. It doesn't require the government to change it. It doesn't require the corporations to change it. Each of us has the power to change it. And as each of us does, it's going to disappear. And so I actually have a lot of hope. I don't, it's completely unsustainable, both physically and emotionally, and I think it won't be sustained. I think we will see that change.
The really beautiful thing about that too is that in order to create a massive shift in society, which is what we need, we really just have to reach a tipping point. And a tipping point is not 90% of the population, but it's 10 to 15% of the population. So I really believe that the meat industrial complex is going to go down. It has to. The only question is how long will it take and how much damage will it do in the meantime? And the answer to that question lies in people who have awakened to this nightmare ahead of the rest of the world.
Thank you both so much.
Our website is ourhenhouse.org. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. And on Twitter, you can find us at Our Hen House. That's it. Just one word, O-U-R, Hen House. Our Hen House. And on Facebook, same thing, facebook.com/Our Hen House. And we can also be found on Etsy. We have an Etsy page where vegan artists make some great knitted wear and some jewelry. And it totally benefits our organization. And that's etsy.com/shop/Our Hen House. So we hope to see you online.
Would you spell it?
Yes, and I want to also add we're on iTunes. Our podcast is on
Right,
iTunes.
yeah.
So if you go to iTunes and you go to the store section and you just do a search for Our Hen House, you'll find our podcast. And as of this recording, we have 91 episodes, so you have a lot of homework. But Our Hen
Set
House,
aside a weekend.
Our Hen House, the organization has 3 words: OURHENHOUSE.
Perfect. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Jasmine
Thank you.
and Mariann.